Okay, so in this video, I'm going to show you how we cut and key the staff and her hand. So originally I was going to try to do this in one video, but it just turns out to be too much, so we're going to do as many videos as it takes to show you how to get something like this done. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing I did was I separated the staff and the hand into its own file, right? And this is the box I'm going to use to cut the top and the box I'm going to use to cut the bottom. So the first thing I do is select the staff, go to the Boolean modifier, select the top box, hit apply, and then delete the box. And then I'm going to do the same on the bottom. And what we want to be left with is just that little bit that's in the hand, because I want that to support the fingers. The fingers are really tiny and thin, and they just need something to help support them as they're being printed. So now we're going to save this into its own file. And then we'll go back and we'll open the original file. Okay, now I'm going to delete the bottom box, the hand, and the wrist. And then I'm going to go into the edit mode on the box, and I'm going to drag that down. And I'm going to delete the whole bottom part of the staff. I'll go to the Boolean modifier, deference, select the box, hit apply, and then delete that. Now I'm going to save that as staff top. You always want to save as, and you want to make sure that you don't move any of the pieces. That way when I append them back in, they will all pop right into place. Okay, so now I'm going to delete the top box, the hand and the wrist. And I wasn't sure how I was going to handle this at first. We want to move all of that up, and I couldn't figure out what I was going to do. But what I am going to do is I'm going to move it up, and I'm going to use that middle section to cover the bits on the side, and then I'll extrude those out to cover it all. Here you go. Move that up, and then we're going to move this up above that middle section, and then we'll move these finally up way at the top. Oops, fix that. Now we'll select those 4 vertices at the side, press E for extrude, and cover that. Then we'll cover those vertices and E to extrude and pull them out and cover the bits at the side. Now we're just making sure that I covered everything. Spoilers, I did not, but I'll show you how we fix that. Boolean modifier again. Select the staff, the box, hit apply. I'll save this as staff bottom. Oh, cleaning up the collections. I always want to make sure things are named right so you can identify everything easily. And there you go, I'm seeing that I missed that little bit, so we'll just go into edit mode, select those vertices, and delete them by hand. Easy enough to do. Okay. Now we're going to save that, and we'll go back. We'll go to the staff top. Well, rename the parts and the collections, clean that up. Okay, move the origin point. Now we're going to go and... we're going to go into the hand. Now what I have to do here is I want to attach that middle part of the staff to the rest of the hand. So we're going to go Boolean union, select that little part of the staff, apply the modifier, and then delete the copy that's created. So that's all one piece, except for the wrist. I didn't attach the wrist yet because I wasn't quite sure how I was going to do that, and I wanted a little leeway in what to do there. So now I'm bringing all the parts together in one file in the top part of the staff. I'm looking for the bottom. Here we go. Adding that, and we're going to put in the keys so that things line up when we glue them back together. Just making sure everything's fine, and it is. So we hide the hand, and now I'm going to add the key. I'm going to add a cylinder. Now this is really small. It's going to only be 3 millimeters. Really tiny. But since I'm adding it to that top part of the staff, we should be fine. Just centering it up now. Making sure it's in the middle. Doesn't have to be super perfect, but I like to get it as close as I can. Okay, and hiding the top part of the staff. See, it's a little off, so I'm going to fix that. Okay, hide the hand part of the staff. Just double checking, making sure everything's good. Okay, now we're going to add 0.15 of a millimeter to all the dimensions on the key. And I do that because you want to cut the key slot just a little bit bigger than the actual key. Otherwise, you're going to have to sand the printed part to get it to fit in, and it's going to be a pain. So it's easier to just cut the slot slightly larger than the key. So Boolean deference, select the key, apply. Now we'll remove that 15 of a millimeter. You want to make sure you do that. If you look close, you can see a little bit of a space in there. Now I'm going to join the key to the top part of the staff. So we'll go Boolean union this time. Select it, apply. And now I'm going to add the duplicate to the bottom part of the staff. It's already there. It's already the proper size. Might as well use it. Making sure it's centered up as good as we can get it. Okay, it's looking good. Just wanted to make sure that it looks good in the top part. Now adding that 0.15 of a millimeter, make sure we cut the slot for the key just a little bit bigger than the actual key. Okay. Now we're going to join that key to the bottom part of the staff. Boolean, union, select the key, apply, and then delete the duplicate. And I understand this is slow, kind of tedious work, but this is what you have to do to make a model work for you. Okay, so now we have all three parts lined up correctly in one file. So we're going to save it. Okay. Now we hit save. So now we're going to save this. We're going to clean up the collections, and we're going to save as. You always want to be really careful between your saves and your save as. You don't want to save over something that you need. So be very careful when you save. And Blender won't let you overwrite files for some reason. I think it might be because things are appended. I'm not really sure. So I always save them with an A at the end, and then I rename them and delete the extra copy. Okay. Now we're going to save this as staff bottom with an A on the end. And then I went back later and I deleted the original and renamed this to just staff bottom. Okay, now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to split this part into two pieces because that top part there is a total cylinder with details on all sides. So I can't print it like that. So we're going to split that from the bottom, and then we're going to split that in half lengthwise. And it's the same thing. Boolean, deference, select the cutter, delete it. I'm going to save as bottom two. Okay, then we go into the edit mode, bring that down. Select the staff, go into Boolean deference, select the cutter. Now I'm going to save this as bottom one. So now we got to put a key in between those two parts. It's a lot of keys. You got to make sure everything lines up, and it's a pain to do it now, but it'll all pay off when you're actually putting the model together. It'll make it so much easier to assemble the model. Okay. We're adding the key. Just centering that up real well. Now we're going to add that 0.15 of a millimeter. Always remember to cut your key slots just a little bit bigger than your key. Believe me, you'll thank me when you actually try to put these things together and you don't have to fiddle with sanding down a lot. You may have to do a little bit of touch-ups, a few swipes with some sandpaper or something, but it's nothing. It'll be so much easier this way. And always experiment a little with your setup, because 0.15 of a millimeter might be too much or too little on your setup, depending upon your temperatures and your filament and the temperature in your house. All of these variables can change on the expansion and shrink rates of your plastic. So do tests. Make sure it works for you. Okay, so now we got this. Now you see there's detail on all sides of this, so we got to split this in half to be able to print it. Okay, we're going to add a box to use as the cutter. And just scaling it up so that it encompasses the model, and we want to try and get it as close as we can to the center. Yeah, you see that little part right there? You want to make sure you split that as close to the center as you can get it. So we're going to save the cutter in the original file. Then we're going to use the Boolean modifier with deference. See how that's split? And we're going to save as bottom A. And I'll keep that naming convention. Now we go into edit mode in the cutter, select that back, and cut the other half off. And we'll save this as 1B. Now I like to do everything in the first part. For some reason it's not necessary to do that. It's just the way I like to do it. And now we're appending the second half into the first half. And since we didn't move anything, it lines up perfectly. So now we're renaming the parts in the collections so you can tell everything apart easy. And I'm adding the key in here. And you got to be careful when you do this that you don't go too close to the edges. Cure can be difficult. I'm not sure about other slices, but if you come too close, it actually will show up as a hole. It'll only print so thin, and then it becomes a hole, even if it's not really a hole. You know what I mean? If a section of the mesh is so thin, it becomes a hole, even though there's something there. Okay, now I'm cutting out the key. And this key is basically just to make it easier to glue together, so that when the glue is slippery, things like to slide around, the key will keep the parts in place. It's all we're really looking to do here. We cut the slot for both sides, so now we're saving the key as its own file. And there's going to be a lot of keys, so pay attention to your naming conventions so that you don't get your keys confused or mixed up. Because at the end, you're just going to have a big old long list of STLs that you're going to print. I like to put everything in different folders so that I can print the parts together, and then I'll put them in little sandwich bags so that I don't get the parts confused. Okay, so I'm flattening this out so that I can create the STL and then just save it. And just drag it into Cura and it'll be ready. I won't have to flip it or move it. It'll pop in flat and right on the bed. Okay, now we're flipping this other part. And we'll be done. And that's this section of the staff. A little tedious, but not that hard. So if this video helped you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you'll get to see the rest of the series. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next video.